This is the Chenese Lewis Show, the #1 podcast for plus-size women. With your host, the queen of curvy conversation, Chenese Lewis.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chenese Lewis. Today is a Monday, April 4th, 2016. Stay connected with me in between shows on Instagram at Chenese Lewis, on Facebook at Chenese Lewis Show, and on Twitter at Chenese Show. Today we have a very special guest on the show, Jasmine Elder. Jasmine Elder is an American fashion designer and the creator of the plus-size contemporary women's label JIBRI. JIBRI is dedicated to creating garments for the fashion-conscious curvy woman, sizes 10 to 28. The designer concentrates on pieces that flatter all plus-size body types. JIBRI includes classic wardrobe staples as well as timeless standout pieces. Each collection includes a variation of garments made with lush fabrics that focus on fabulous fit. JIBRI designs has been worn by many celebrities, including Tamela Mann, Tasha Cobbs, Kiara Sheard, Jill Scott, Takara, Amber Riley, Brittany Howard of Alabama Shakes, Tess Holliday, and Gabourey Sidibe, and Lonnie Love. JIBRI has been seen in Lucky, Marie Claire, Bust, Cosmopolitan, Uptown, People Style, Essence, and In Style magazines. Let's welcome Jasmine to the show. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Well, I looked at your Instagram getting prepared for this interview, and I saw a post that you made that caught my attention. A post you made said, I had 42 jobs, and I don't know how I ever thought I belonged in any other industry. Now, in my opinion, you are one of the top indie plus-size designers, but this quote tells me it didn't happen easily or overnight. Were there times that you wanted to quit being a designer, and if so, why?
Actually, I never wanted to quit being a designer. I just never really knew I would be one. You know, I loved what I did. I loved making clothes. I loved creating these looks, and I just kept working. I didn't really know what I was working for, and then one day it kind of became clear what my purpose was, and so at that point I kept going. But I've honestly never wanted to quit. I love every minute of it.
And so out of these 42 jobs, all of them wasn't necessarily fashion related. Those were just the jobs to pay the bills.
Oh, they're absolutely not. They were not fashion related at all. I've done everything from I've cleaned houses, I've been a bartender, waitress, nanny, worked in retail. I actually worked on Wall Street for a little while after college. A million jobs, all different industries. I have no idea why people kept hiring me, honestly. Because I'm like, don't you check my records? I've worked a lot of places.
Well, I guess you've never left on bad terms, so
No, I haven't.
That was good. So did you ever feel that you had to be in New York or L.A. to take your brand as a fashion designer to the next level?
I went to New York directly after high school for college. I went to NYU. I didn't go to fashion school. I've never studied fashion formally. And when I went to New York when I was like 17, I wanted to just be in New York, coming from Atlanta. And I thought, okay, if I can get to New York, you know, it's going to help me blossom into the woman I'm supposed to be. But at that point, I had no clue that I even had a chance. It was not a industry I'd ever seen anybody who looked like me be in. So it really wasn't even a goal. I just loved, fashion. I wanted to be in New York just to see the people. I was a club kid. And then I stayed in New York for many years. I left after September 11th, moved around like a million other times, and then I came back to Atlanta. And honestly, I can't imagine living anywhere else now. It probably would be ideal for me to live in New York or LA at this point, but I think being in Atlanta is comfortable for a person like me, an artist, so you can afford to basically make some mistakes here. Whereas in New York, I don't know if I ever would have gotten to really jump out there because I would have had to work so much harder just to survive. Whereas in Atlanta, things are a little expensive, so, it's a little easier here.
So new plus-size designers look up to you as inspiration and a staple of a successful independent plus-size designer. Now, would you advise a new designer to spend more money on their budget on their photo shoots and marketing or participating in multiple fashion shows?
Well, I don't know if it's a known fact, but I do not like fashion shows.
You don't?
At all. I do not like participating in fashion shows, which is why I don't do very many of them, because I am a person who, even when I didn't have anything at all, and even now when I still don't have what I would like to have, my visions are huge. And it's like I would always want to do things on a scale that was, as close to perfection as I could do it. And it's always been very difficult to do that when you're not back financially. And when I think a lot of times when you're on the outside looking in, you look at these Fashion Week shows and you think Marc Jacobs, but Marc Jacobs doesn't pay for those shows. So he can do, Cirque du Soleil coming out of the ceiling and all this kind of stuff. But if you're a new designer, you need to focus on your actual craft. You don't have to put your energy into the bells and whistles. And I think shows are for entertainment. So unless you're a person who is not really dedicated to your craft and you just want to show things and make an exciting show, but you're not really trying to develop yourself as a real designer, then go ahead and do a show. Otherwise, you need to really, the most of your budget needs to go into your craft, because you do a show and then what? So you do this big show, you spend all of your money on it, and you can't even produce the stuff that you should show. No one can even
order it. People are ready to buy it, and you don't have it available.
Yeah, you have no way. Absolutely. So it's like you might want to participate in more modest shows if you want to use shows as an avenue to be put out there on the street, for your name to be out there, but put more of your energy and more of your money into your behind-the-scenes stuff. Like a show is like, it's entertainment at this point, for plus especially, in my opinion.
And what about the exposure? Do you think the exposure is priceless, or do you think when you just have a good brand, the word is going to get around?
I think the way I've developed has been very organic, and I've been extremely blessed that I've participated in some of the events that have, when they were on the forefront. So, when things were just happening for Plus, I got a chance to participate in some of this stuff. What I would say shows did for me more than anything else was it boosted my confidence, because I didn't know people really would like what I was doing. I've been making clothes since I was like 14, 15 years old, and I didn't know anybody wanted them. And so when someone asked me to do a show and I did it, I didn't know it would turn into that. And so that for me was like, oh, wow, I do have a consumer. So I would say it can help you on that level maybe as far as exposure is concerned. But nowadays you have social media. There's so many other avenues that are far less expensive than participating in a show. And if you find a show that really is going to cost you nothing, but I don't believe that they ever do. You always have to put something into it. You have to pay the models, you have to your hair, your makeup. Like if you want your stuff to be shown in a certain way, which is why I'm so particular about the shows that I participate in, because even to this day, I refuse to let my models be treated, any kind of way just because they're plus. Like I just don't like that. So it's important for me to to be able to provide the things financially to make sure all of my things look the way I want it to look, not just thrown to the back because it's novelty to have plus now. But then you really don't want to, you really don't want to put the same energy into my models as you do into other things. So it's nothing that's free. So I was telling them, for exposure, use some of the free venues right now, which would honestly be social media.
Right. Now, how often do you come out with a new collection and lookbook?
I used to only do fall, spring, and holiday. And then, honestly, I swear social media has changed everything for so many different industries. Fashion, for sure, is one of them. And the fast fashion that comes out requires even designers like me to put things out a little more frequently. So though my core collections are my fall, spring and holiday, I've added like my swim covers, or I put those out. And sometimes I'll do like a secondary spring collection. A lot of times I'll break up my collections into maybe 3, and I'll release them in parts of 3 so that there's always something coming out. You don't want to go like too many months without having anything new coming out to people. So yeah, so my main ones are fall, spring, holiday, and then I maybe have about 4 subcategories that I release throughout the year as well.
Now, speaking of your collection and lookbooks, your lookbooks always look amazing. Now,
Thank you.
it was an article came out today. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It was on the Bustle website, and Elise from Ready to Stare interviewed some indie designers about some of their experiences in the plus industry. And one of the things a lot of the designers said is putting together photo shoots is so expensive that a lot of them can't afford to do it, because after you pay agencies, a photographer, a hairstylist, a makeup artist, to do it really well, it could cost, $10,000 depending on how exclusive, right. So do you think it's an advantage when it comes to being in the South for you to be able to do things like that at a lower cost, or is that something you still have to deal with?
I have to deal with it, but in a different way. Like those 42 jobs have taught me so much. So I have learned how to do a lot of things on my own. Like a lot of people don't know, I don't work with stylists. I'm very particular about the way everything is done. So I do my own styling. A lot of times I do my own sets, my own creative for many of the looks that you see, like not just the whiteboards, but all the decorative things. Those are things that I don't have a staff to do. So whereas people, I think sometimes when you're in New York and LA, it kind of makes you're around so many people that have other people to do it for you that you consistently pay other people to do it. I'm not in that position. And in the South, even when I look for people like, oh, let me find a person who does sets, I can't find them down here. So I have to do them myself. And so maybe that's where I can cut costs a little bit. But where I do get shot in the foot that people in New York and LA have an absolute advantage over me are the availability of the growing number of beautiful plus-size models. Because since I do, the several collections at this point, it's not really cost-effective. And I like to limit my stuff, too. So you have to realize the type of designer that I am. I'm not a hugely mass-produced designer. So I do a lot of fabrication. There are things where people don't know. I might hand paint 1,000 yards of fabric, or I might hand stitch the patchwork on things personally that could take months and months for me to create some of the fabrics that I use. So therefore, I'm able to limit them. So a lot of times when I'm like, oh, it's sold out, or it's a certain number of these, it's really, I do that intentionally so that it's not oversaturated. And if you're only going to sell 100 of them, then it's not really logical to fly a model from, Zurich to Atlanta to shoot her, because I know that it's going to sell out in like 2 weeks, and then I'll have to shoot again all over again for something new. So here I'm limited in the models that I actually have the availability to use. Sometimes I see other designers who are newer than me, and their models just like blow me away. So I try to work with some of the budding artists. Some of the bigger models are still outside of my price range.
Right.
I can't afford them.
Right.
They're so far away. Yeah. So they're right about that. Photo shoots are expensive. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now I'm just listening to you, and you just said something that caught my attention. How you will hand paint fabric, and a lot of things you still do on your own. I didn't realize that until you just said that. So you are still almost like a one-woman show, even though like the web appearance, makes it seem like you are this big multi-organization.
Right. A lot of times I think, and I see that I'm a person who watches like a lot of, seeing a lot of the other designers that are in the straight size world. They have like a indie channel, and sometimes they'll show behind the scenes. And I saw things from like Proenza and Schuler maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, and listening to them talk about doing things themselves. And I know I was doing everything myself, and I felt like such a failure because, you know, I still was so connected to the stuff. I wanted to do it myself. I couldn't afford to have, you know, specialty fabrics created, and I saw them in my head, so I just was able to do them myself. And when I saw that other people do that too, and then the bigger they get, you know, you are able to get it automated. But I like that. I mean, that's a part of what I actually love. I love having things limited. I love having things sell out. I love not walking into a room and seeing 10 girls with the same thing on, especially if it's something that I have created. I've never seen it before. I've never walked into the room and seen more than one person in the same JIBRI garment before. And that's something that I'm proud of. And so I will probably continue to do that for as long as I live. I love that part of it.
Well, I think that's amazing. I mean, you are really a hard worker because, I mean, I would have never known you were doing all that, too. So that is a testament of how passionate you are about your brand.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you have a signature design aesthetic to your clothing that stands out from everybody. Now, for those listening who may not be as familiar with your clothes, tell us the type of clothing you carry.
My goal was always to create like a glamorous contemporary line for women. So it, to me, it's still an everyday line. I wear it every single day. It's not a special occasion thing, although I know a lot of women do still consider it to be special occasion at some point. And I try to hit all of the different, you know, tops, dresses, skirts, pants, all the different categories of garments, but it's really just a contemporary, glamorous collection for women who have a particular aesthetic about the way they like to look. It's definitely a more sophisticated look, not as trendy as some of the other things. And I do try to focus on you know, flattering cuts for all plus size women. So a lot of times people look at the pictures and they say, oh, all the models are the same shape, but honestly they're not. It's just that I couldn't get them to photograph themselves without the clothes on, but because I personally don't have the quintessential, you know, figure 8 or pear shape or whatever. But so I was my first customer, so I had to make sure I look good in them first. So it does flatter an array of body types, despite what people may think from photographs. I love people to get a chance to try the pieces so they can experiment with different shapes, things that they would have never thought would look good on them. I think I've kind of developed, like you said, my own signature look that can pretty much work for any body type and any lifestyle, but just a woman who's looking for an edge of glamour.
Now tell me about your new Poolside Collection 16.
Okay. So I started these poolside pieces last year, and actually I've been doing poolside pieces for about maybe 5 years. I am actually the person who would wear a swimsuit, a pencil skirt, a cardigan. I would wear all of these things to the beach. It would be like a full look because I was never into the. I literally would. I'm not kidding. I never wanted to like the big baggy T-shirt look. I hate that. You know, shorts. I don't wear shorts because of the way my legs are made. So I don't like when it rises up in the middle. It just never. I just hated that look. And then I would see women and I am a person who loves exotic travel. One of my 42 jobs is I worked for a travel agency, and we would go on these beautiful trips, and stuff that I would have probably never even known. Places I never would have known existed, and the women would be very glamorous, but there would be no plus women that would be participating in those looks. And so I started to create this collection. So I put it out on a whim last year, and it was so well received that I realized I needed to continue it. And so that will be something that I do every year. So this year, it's just expanded on what I had done last year. It's going to consist of caftans, probably jumpsuits of some sort, you know, sheer things that you can wear in a beach setting or a pool party or a yacht or, you know, different travel destinations that would be things that you would normally wear a swimsuit to, but not necessarily prepared to swim the English Channel. You know, it's not necessarily you're not going to swim in it, but you're just going to look gorgeous around the water. Exactly.
So why is it 16? Why the number 16 behind the name?
Oh, just a year. Just a year.
Oh, that went over my head.
No.
I thought it meant it was your 16th collection.
Oh, no. I don't even know what number I'm on yet. I don't know what number. I think I might have, you know what? I have to go back and count because we might be around 16 at this point. You could be right.
Okay. So huh?
I said I might have even missed that. I might have missed that. It might be 16.
So do you plan to eventually come out with the swimwear line?
I won't. I don't want to say I won't. I used to do swimwear. I've done plus-size swimwear before for myself, and I never sold it. I did do exotic dance wear, which is kind of like swimsuits. That was one of the things that I did in the beginning of my career. So I'm very familiar with how to create swimwear. But when I saw the other, honestly, when Monique C came out with her swimwear, I was so proud of her. Even though I have only met her once or twice, but I do admire her from afar. I was impressed with the innovation of it, and I decided at that point that I would not put my foot into that pool because I wanted, I felt like that was her thing, and I loved that she brought a different look to it, one that I hadn't even imagined. And I try to let everyone, I don't get in other people's pools. I let other people, that's your thing. I think that's what we need in this industry is we don't only need to try to do the same thing. There's there's a million different things that we could all be designing. Everyone has to do with their natural thing. So even if I make swimwear for myself, I will probably not do them professionally just because I don't. That's hurtful, in my opinion.
Now tell me about the price point of your line because it's pricey, but I never really seen people criticizing it. Like all on my social media, I see, every time JIBRI comes out with a new collection, I'm going to give my whole check to it. So people, I know you've seen it. It was like, ooh, you taking all my money, Jasmine. But it's really not negative. So as an upscale plus-size fashion designer, was that an obstacle that you had to overcome for people to understand? Because the plus industry does not like to spend a lot of money on clothes.
No, they don't. And it is criticized. It depends on where you're looking for it. And now I applaud you for maybe if you look in certain places, certain bloggers, their following is one that's more into the fashion and not so much budget friendly. But if you look on some of the blogs and that's their focus, then they dog me out to the dirt.
Oh, really?
About why? Oh my gosh! And sometimes I get offended by it, but I'm actually very understanding of it because I know, like you said, it's not that plus size doesn't want to spend money. It's a very new industry. It's very new, and I think things are happening so fast for us right now. I think sometimes people don't get it, but it's like in my research, even of other, if you Google, like if you go to Nordstrom's.com right now and look up swim covers for like Missoni, they're like $1,600. $1,600 for rayon and polyester. Mine are silk chiffon. No offense to Missoni. No beading, no hand beading, no hand fabrication like the things I've done. Some of my friends that are designers in the straight size world consistently attack me for underpricing because they can't believe that I'm doing the amount of work that I do for this price. But I knew that I had to that was something I wanted to do. I never wanted people to look at people who look like me and decide that we're all sloppy and none of us have any interest in glamour or anything like that. But I know you can't just come out with $1,000 collection. You have to. We've never had options like this before. So if you put what I do next to some of the things that might be differently priced, if you own any JIBRI, you already know the difference in what I do and what you may get for $20. So it's a different thing. So once people, normally when even my little sister, she is a person who definitely is a high-low shopper. And the first time I made something for her, 'cause she was like a smaller girl, but now she's like maybe a 10, 12, so she's right at the end of my line. She wears JIBRI every day now because she's been bitten by the bug, and just the way that it makes her feel, how easy it is to wear it, the attention that she gets in it, how she feels like it flatters her body all the time. It's like once you get bitten by the bug, I feel excited when I hear women tell me these stories, but I know it's true. It's like, you understand why it's priced the way it's. And eventually,
and now what is the price point? Tell us the price point.
Oh, okay. It starts about, I think my lowest piece is maybe like $80, maybe for some tops, and I might go up to about $420 on some like coats or something. But the average price point is around $200 to $250 for the average piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you get nice quality.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's extremely fairly priced for what it is. If you were to compare it to things that are in straight size on the same level, it's very much so underpriced. And I get begged by straight size girls all the time for it. Like, can you make this in a size 2? And I always say no, because you have options. But it's like, they know, because they know what's out there and what the prices are in their range.
Right. Now, 2015 was a big year for you. You opened your Atlanta showroom, which was a major accomplishment. Now, how long was that in the works to get your showroom open?
Oh, 0 days. It was absolutely not a goal whatsoever. Because I started online, my very first order, I'll never forget. My first order was LA, and then the next one was Canada. So when I was selling on Etsy, and I remember thinking, I don't know if I want a boutique, because my customer immediately started to come from places that weren't Atlanta. And since I wasn't planning to move, I thought I would be an online destination for quite some time. So I didn't necessarily need, a landmark or storefront. And then, so I worked, privately for many, many years, and I literally just saw a space because I needed to just move out. I just needed some space. I needed some space to be able to work a little bit bigger. And I saw a space coming home from Essence, where I saw you, in New Orleans, literally driving down the highway. And I called the number, and I rented the place on a Tuesday. I moved in on a Friday. And that was it. It was like a huge house. I was not in the works whatsoever. It was enough space for me to work in. And then in the front, I decided to put a small showroom for people who wanted to look, because that part, I guess, it did happen organically. Those pop-up shops that I started to do were like eye-opening, for sure. That's something I do regret not having done earlier, because, we can't be, especially as an indie, you can't be everywhere. And so there are going to be people who see stuff online and want to try it on, and I understand that. I understand not being comfortable spending $200 or $300 on something online that you've never seen, you don't know if it's going to fit you or flatter you. And so doing the pop-up shops were just like, for me, they were just so endearing to see all these people who have been admirers of my stuff for years that I didn't even know existed, get to come out and try the stuff on. And so I was like, maybe I should have somewhere, stationary. Not that everybody's going to come to Atlanta, but when people do come, I do have somewhere for them to come and see some pieces. So it's kind of like a twofold. I work there. I work there. That's my workspace. But I also have the showroom so people can come and look if they need to.
So where's the location in Atlanta, and what are the business hours?
It's a showroom and not a full store, so I do go by appointment. I'm open all day on Saturday from 12 to 7. The address is 1775 Will Watt, and that's WILWAT Drive, and that's Suite C in Norcross, NORCROSS, Georgia. So Norcross is about maybe 15 minutes outside of the Atlanta city limits. Okay.
But Monday through Friday, you need an appointment.
Yeah, Monday through Friday is appointment only. So the phone number for my assistant is on my website. You can call her at any time. And we pretty much make, there's not a charge for an appointment because I'm usually there anyway. If you come Monday through Friday, I won't be dressed. I'll have on sweatpants because I'm working.
Because you be working.
Because I'm working. But if you come on Saturday, then, you'll get a really pretty associate to assist you instead of me in my sweatpants.
So are you still going to do pop-up shops now that you have a showroom?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to do them in more cities. I mean, last year was my first time really jumping out there and doing like I did New York. I did one in Atlanta even before I did my showroom, which was great, and New Orleans. So this year we're going to do Chicago, Atlanta. I already did one in Alabama. I think there's one planned for D.C., and New Orleans again for Essence Festival.
Coming to Essence Festival.
Absolutely, yeah, that was a great experience. I loved it there. So I'll try to add a different city every year, but I think New York and New Orleans may be my staples for a while, because those are just New York. You already have the full figure fashion events going on, so many people are already in the city, so it's just like logical to be there for that. And then Essence Fest, you have so many women just coming in
from
for that
everywhere,
event, and they're coming from all over the place. If they can fit in a little shopping time, I'm going to be there. So other cities for sure I'm open to. I just have to find the right cities, the right times. Like L.A. I would love to do, but I'm trying to figure out like what's a good time to do L.A. So L.A. is definitely on the list. I just have to figure out a good time to do it.
Now, is JIBRI available in any boutiques around the country, or is that something in the works?
Well, I actually, that was where I thought I would be able to show originally when I first started. So I was in, I think at one point up to 27 boutiques when in the early parts of my career. But now the smaller boutiques aren't really doing the higher end plus as much anymore, because, you know, the Instagram-y type stuff, that's mostly what they carry. So I'm not
the made in China clothes.
Exactly. And I understand that too. I don't get mad at anyone. I understand you start a boutique, you have this vision, and then, you know, bills have to get paid, and you can't necessarily wait on your customer to grow. So I get it. So once you start selling the China stuff, you can't really sell something from me. It's totally different customers at that point. So I have kind of pulled out of the wholesale a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not really doing it anymore. Yeah.
So do you have anything else coming up we need to be on the lookout for?
I'm actually going to show a new collection that has been in the works for a while, and I've finally polished it up a little bit. I'm not going to show every single piece, but maybe just a few pieces in New York. I'm going to do a small blogger's preview before I start my pop-up shop in June. And so it will be a bridal collection that I'm very excited about. Yeah.
Wow. Now, what made you want to get into bridal?
Honestly, I see a need for it. I see I've seen the same, and I know that when I think of brides when I was younger, I guess as I get older, I just see things differently. I always saw the cupcake type dresses, and I knew that's a type of bride. You know, 21, you dreamt of this look your whole life. You want to look like Cinderella. I get it, and I never wanted to be bothered with that, never. But then women started to order some of the dresses that I already create in white, and they would say, "Can you do this in silk? Can you do this in blah blah blah? Because I'm going to get married. This is my second marriage, or we're going to get married on the beach, or we're not going to do the traditional look." And I would see the pictures, and it would just be so overwhelmingly gorgeous. I was like, "Wow, there's a contemporary plus size bride out there as well." There are women who, you know, when you see the salons, remember her look, how gorgeous that was, and that's a totally, you know, that's a contemporary look, not at all traditional. And so there are women that are plus who also have visions of things that are not necessarily a cupcake look. And so those are the pieces that I will be providing. And for those type of brides, it's not going to be for everybody, you know, and that's why I'm going to start very small, just to kind of put my foot in the water to see, you know, how people react to it.
Now, is this the first time you publicly mentioned about doing bridal? Did I just get an exclusive?
I think you might have on this one. I think I kind of mentioned it in a whisper to a blogger, maybe a year ago. But I had been taking my time to get it done because I wanted them to be, you know, I only wanted to do a few dresses at first, and I just wanted them to be done properly. You know, I'm big on presentation, so I didn't want to put out something that I wasn't 100% dedicated to. And so now I've finally polished those pieces up, and I'm going to show them in June, and then we'll go from there.
Well, that's exciting. Maybe I'll find a husband and can use one of your dresses soon.
We got to add these to the hope chest.
Right. So I'm so excited for you. I am a fan of your clothing, as you know. I'm wishing you continued success. Tell us your official website so we can keep up with everything JIBRI.
Okay. My website is www.JIBRI, which is JIB as in boy, RI, online, it's one word, .com. All of my social media tags are under JIBRI Online as well. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, though I'm still learning how to tweet. So I apologize.
You're still learning how to tweet?
I know. Don't ask me why. I think I never really got into it because it required you to be so, you really have to stay on the tweets. You have to, really engage. And I just have never really gotten a chance to really sit down and follow a full conversation on there. So I'm a lot better.
Well, it seems like you got Instagram mastered, so you like Instagram better.
It's easy for me. Yeah, I can do Instagram, and I really am going to learn how to get the tweets together at some point. And I still do everything by myself, so I still like to, I like it to actually be me. So that's it for me. Just Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at this point, and everything is under JIBRI Online. My website is JIBRIOnline.com, so any contact information that you might need, if you want to make an appointment, if you have any questions, if you're a model that's in Atlanta or in the South or interested in model for JIBRI and you're maybe coming through and you just want to meet me, all that information is there. I love to, you never know where these people are, so definitely contact me.
Well, thank you for being a guest on the show. I've learned a lot about you tonight. Actually, it was a great interview, and continued success, like I said, continued success with everything that you're doing.
All right. Thanks, Shanice. You have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And thank you to our fabulous guest this evening. If you haven't already, don't forget to like our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Chenese Lewis Show. I've been your host this evening, Chenese Lewis. Thank you for tuning in and supporting. Until next time, keep thriving in your curves and be blessed.
You've been listening to the Chenese Lewis Show. For more info about the show, visit CheneseLewisShow.com.